Hi everyone and welcome back. Before I get into my main President's Report, this is sort of some late breaking news that we just learned of today here on Wednesday. Pretty exciting to hear that President Jeff DeFranco was selected for an inaugural new President's Program with the famous Aspen Institute. So I'm just sharing that article here. I know there'll be more information coming out about this great opportunity, and I will certainly include it in a future President's Report. So now let's jump to the normal report. Hey everyone, and welcome back. I wanted to offer the February 2020 Academic Senate President's Report, reporting here on a board meeting actually from late January, and also some other odds and ends as I typically try to offer to you. As usual, if you want any of the backup materials for any of the Board of Trustees meetings, very easy to find. Go to ltcc.edu, click on About Us, click on Board of Trustees, and you get to Board Docs. You can also go actually directly to boarddocs.com if you want. There's a URL there, and click on Board of Trustees. You'll want to click on the agenda, and then that will give you the agenda for the various meetings. If you are looking for an agenda from the past, click on meetings and I'll have everything archived really nicely by year. So yeah, in any case, let's just jump right into the January 28th meeting, and it was a shorter meeting as I'll tell you about later. So the first thing we heard was Superintendent President's report, and as you know, Jeff DeFranco has been on professional development leave, so Rusty Egan has filled in and has done a great job offering these reports at our board meetings. The first of these was a report on the rural college convening, and I guess there's a group out there. This involves presumably our president, a couple of our board members, and it's really trying to focus on rural college issues. You remember back in the days when Guy Lease was president, he was always a big advocate at the state level for rural colleges. And I think it's very important in these times that we maintain that kind of a focus, because we realize that small colleges face challenges that large schools don't. And so it was interesting to hear about this. What they mentioned is that the report might not be done until February 2021, and there could be some funding that comes out of it. So this is one of these that we should just put on our radar and wait and see what happens with it. Additionally, there was a report that Rusty offered on a Tahoe Tribune article. And I'm just going to click on that here so you can see that. And this was an opinion piece that President DeFranco wrote for the Tahoe Tribune on January 18th. And the title of it is LTCC Interest 2020 on Historic Rise. So this is talking a lot about campus improvements, the opening up of the Mobility Hub, the Lake Tahoe College Promise Program, which many of you, myself included, have been involved in, fundraising efforts, affordable student housing, enrollment being up, which was one of the best things I think that we should really focus on. As he says here, enrollment was up 13% from the previous academic year, and now is near its highest point of LTCC's 45-year history. Pretty crazy how great enrollments are, so kudos to all the faculty out there for making that happen. LTCC's women and men's soccer program success. So this is a really nice overview. I feel like from a marketing perspective, this really says to the community efforts going on at the college, ranging from things happening in instruction to all the capital improvements to the success of our sports teams and so forth. So really nice to see that offered here in the board agenda and of course in the Tahoe Tribune. Another community issue that Rusty related is dancing with the Tahoe Stars. And I'll click on that. And this year, I didn't realize this, but it was mentioned at the last board meeting that our president, actually Jeff DeFranco, used to teach ballroom dancing. I had no idea. So a lot of these talents you don't know about. So this has all the participants, and probably you know a lot of these folks locally, you know, the professional dancer and I guess the non-professional. And I guess what's really cool about this is, although people are often interested in winning or placing or whatever, a lot of times it really relates to how much money is raised. So if you want to do this, Jeff DeFranco will be dancing with Robin Rasmussen. You could click on the donate button, and I believe it'll take you right to PayPal, and you could put in the amount and simply hit donate with PayPal. So kind of cool, and cool to have that exposure in our community. It just again gets our name out there in terms of LTCC, and it also raises money for the Tahoe Arts Project. So another great opportunity to support the arts. So really cool to hear about that. And then the last item that Acting President Rusty Egan reported on was the exciting Black History Month schedule. So let's jump to the board docs, and you can see these. And again, feel free to go to the board docs. But a lot of neat events coming up. Tuesday, February 4th, February 13th, 21st, 25th, and 27th. A lot of great stuff. One of the ones that was really highlighted, Dr. Jonathan King, Tuesday, February 25th. I think the place is still to be announced, but it's at the lunch hour, 12:30. It says here he'll be talking about the life and legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King. Dr. Martin Luther King visited Jonathan King's family when he was 5 years old. He will describe this fortuitous encounter and how it impacted his city. So kind of cool to hear that one of our own senior leadership team members will be speaking for Black History Month, and then also we'll have a series of other really interesting performances, movies, and a screening of the Black Panther movie, along with an academic from Sacramento, I believe, who's going to be talking about the significance of that film. And it is really a significant film on a lot of levels, race as well as gender, if you've had a chance to see it. So check out all those exciting Black History Month events, take part, and really be part of LTCC and South Lake Tahoe's efforts to have a multicultural focus in terms of celebrating this important time of the year. As is customary at board meetings, we get to meet the new employees, and really kudos to the board for doing this. I think it's always exciting. At the last board meeting, with a few of our introductions, there were close to over 10 people. Sometimes you see 15 people, 20 people even, attending just to celebrate the hiring of a new employee. So it's kind of a big deal. People recognize that whether you're faculty, classified staff, administration, a student worker, that LTCC is really the place to work in town. It's one of the great places to work in our local community. So 2 introductions. Julie McCoubry, our new CDC teacher, and you may recognize Julie's last name, McCoubry. Indeed, she's married to Scott McCoubry, so it was really great to see Scott there as well from our advanced office, formerly of institutional research. So welcome, Julie, to LTCC, and I know she's going to do great as a CDC teacher. We're also really excited to have Kenya Sancho introduced. She's our new instruction office assistant, and I believe I've mentioned her in a previous board meeting, but she's really cool. Hope you get a chance to meet her. She's occupying the position formerly held by Kelsey, who has moved one desk over. And kind of interesting fact, it's always cool to hear this, how super qualified our new employees are. She's bilingual, and she's actually a certified bilingual interpreter. So that's really great to hear that, much like we've talked about with Student Services, the One Stop, we have really bilingual people who are available for our students regardless if they speak English or Spanish. So it's really awesome to have such a welcoming person like Kenya in the instruction office. If you haven't met her yet, please stop in and say hello. She's really has a welcoming spirit, and I think she's going to do amazing along with Sarah and Kelsey in the instruction office. Really exciting times for all the new wonderful employees there in instruction. So welcome to all of them. Welcome to all our new employees. The next item up was the Learning Resource Center renovation project, and this specifically focused on the library area, so we can look at this. And this is one of these that is really good to see visually. I know there's some of you out there who are text folks who love emails and written reports. I've actually discovered written reports that people often don't read it, and I can actually track every single one of my videos I have on YouTube. I can track who's watching. It doesn't tell me that. It gives me some demographics, but it tells me the number of people watching it. And I can generally figure this out based on the type of video I have. So if it's an academic Senate video, folks who are watching my pedagogy videos or my music videos or other videos on YouTube for different professional purposes aren't likely going to watch the academic Senate videos and so forth. So it's good for me to be able to use video because I can track just the engagement I have with all of you. And secondly, a lot of this stuff is really visual. You know, we live in a visual culture now. We've moved beyond sort of the realm of operating just through text. That's kind of my idea behind this, but the good news is when you're academic Senate president after I am, and I'm encouraging some of you who have these ideas about maybe what these reports should be like, step up to the plate, run for academic Senate president, and when you're president, you can try out your own format and experiment a bit. One of the cool things about working at a college with so many different faculty members, different approaches, different disciplines, is the ability to try things out and hopefully an openness to our colleagues who are trying out some different things and really taking that in and learning from them and sharing in different modalities. We all work in different modalities. I publish a lot on visual culture. I've done a book on film remakes with a colleague from College of Marin. And I also teach visual anthropology. I'm doing a lecture coming up later this month actually in visual culture down at University of California, Irvine. So my work is very much focused on visual culture, and so you're getting a little bit of visual stimulation in this sense. But another reason I do these visually is because of the fact that in some cases we need to actually see a schematic, a diagram, a moving image, and this is a case in point. So I wanted to talk then about the Learning Resource Center Space Renovation Project, and Al took us through all the aspects of this. I'm not going to go through everything. But this shows you, again, on a map, what's going on here. So you can see the current Math Center, Writing Center, faculty drop-in, the various small study room spaces. So the vision is to really rework some of these spaces, and in particular, it's so you can see the Math Center is complete. A lot of these are part of the bond, and of course are complete, and we're moving through these. The Writing Center also complete, group study rooms. This is just saying the faculty drop-in office will not have any renovations. The testing center, the one thing that's going to happen is to add proctoring cameras. So you can see the space here, and the thought is you can increase the capacity of the center if you have more desks, and because you have more desks you worry about cheating and given the more close proximity of students. So if you had cameras installed here, you could apply a little bit of surveillance and do a little better job hopefully with nipping some of that cheating and dishonesty in the bud. This is the main one that's going to happen. So the idea is that what will likely happen is this entire space will be closed in, and the thought is that it'll become a closed in space. And it'll be interesting to see how this is going to work out in terms of the noise policies. There are a lot of conversations about, what's the appropriate use of the library. Most librarians you talk to, including Melanie Chu, will tell you we're moving away from the old days of shushing people in the library. It's more now a space of dynamism where people have group conversations, but I think some of this will deal with sound abatement, enclosing the current reading room enclosure, but I'm sure more information is going to come out in the future about what that's going to actually look like. This is totally an aside, but if you're ever interested, check out the Cerritos Public Library. I actually did a short study of the Cerritos Public Library years ago for my YouTube channel. It's a really kind of postmodern, crazy experiential space. But one of the cool things is when you walk inside, there's all these really amazing visual stimulating kind of things going on. I'm just trying to find some of those images. These giant books and aquaria, and they have a mini Main Street, and the various spaces of the library are actually laid out in different themes based on different eras of California. So it's a really cool space, and it was controversial when it came out because a lot of people said it's a Disneyfication of the library space. But to me, in the day and age in which libraries are competing with shopping malls and other spaces for the attention of young people and old people alike, I think thinking a little bit more about the experience and some of the spatial design elements is really key. So I'm actually pretty happy to see some of this moving forward in terms of the college thinking about how to strategically position itself with its various spaces, in this case the space of the library. So if you get a chance, you can go back to the board document, read everything about the project scope, you could look at the schematics and so forth, and I know there'll be more coming forward in the future about how that library space will continue to evolve. Really exciting times for us. Additionally, announcement was made of a capital construction specialist job description. This position, of course, will be paid through the bond money, and also they will work on things like construction scheduling issues and some of those dynamics of when things start to change in terms of our upstairs, in terms of the bio area, the art area, not just bio but the sciences area. It's going to be kind of a scheduling nightmare. So I guess this person is going to help navigate some of those scheduling issues that will come up as people are moved around and we have maybe a lack of classroom spaces or meeting spaces or office spaces and so forth. In addition, there was a discussion of some of the curriculum and catalog revisions. This was primarily discussed at the last meeting, so if you want to look at that again, you will find it on the board agenda. And by the way, this is all under new business. So 7.1 was the job approval for the capital construction specialist, and then 7.2 through 7.5 are all those curriculum changes and catalog changes that I talked about actually in a previous report, so I won't go through those again. But if you want to refresh your memory, go back to 7 new business, and you can certainly check out what is being proposed and what was passed. And and hard to believe, but we actually ended early this time. It was crazy how early we got out. I want to say it was around it was before 7 o'clock. I haven't gotten out of board meeting that early in ages, so it was really kind of nice to get home and actually get some sleep that night. So really good, efficient meeting. So that was it. For the January board meeting, we have 2 February meetings coming up, so I might combine those in one February board meeting report. We'll have to see. Next, I wanted to focus on the President's Advisory Council meeting of January 30th, 2020, and we actually had one agenda item, and it was very useful. It was a 2-hour meeting, and that is the APR and AUPs, the Annual Unit Plans and Annual Program Review. So this was presented, co-presented by Elizabeth Ballant, Nick Barkley, and Ryan Philpott, our new Director of Fiscal Services. And they specifically took us through a lot of the rationale behind the processes of all our planning documents, some of the changes you're going to note. I noted quite a few faculty were in attendance. I saw, I think, Mark Williams, Trevor Thomas, Melanie Chu was there, I was there, Christina Tomaleo. I'm trying to think if there were a few others there. If I'm forgetting a few others, I'm sorry. But, good group of faculty there, trying to get a sense of what exactly was going on in terms of some of the new approaches in our planning processes. I'm not going to go through all this. I'll read you a couple notes that I took. But included in the meeting was a discussion just of LTCC's vision, mission, and beliefs. And then there was an agenda here. I'm happy to share this with you if you have any questions. And then the template was passed out. So the template is basically what you've seen in the past. I'm not going to go through all these questions, but if you remember going through this in the past, you answer questions like, what are the strengths of your department? What are the biggest challenges? Those questions about demographics and the demographics in your program, your slow assessment cycle, and so forth. And that was why Mark was there, the interest in the student learning outcomes. We also received the current goals of the Superintendent, President, and Board of Trustees. So good to see these. And then we had a little handout connected ultimately to the new funding formula and how that's impacting a little bit about how we think about our processes at the college and funding patterns and so forth. I'll just go through my notes real quick that I have here. It was noted that if you want something in a budgetary sense, if you want to be part of the budget discussion, you need to fill out the AUP, so that's kind of important to think about. And then particularly if there's something new that you're asking, really include that. What happens at the end is that all of the responses that they receive and this is all through Qualtrics, and so you'll get an email coming out soon. I suspect it's fairly soon this week, I'm not sure. But everything that is sent into Qualtrics will be bundled into a spreadsheet, and then that is sent out to the various players who make some of these big picture budgetary decisions. The other interesting thing is they said with Qualtrics, when the survey is sent out to your email, that you do not have to finish this all at one time. So you could do little bits at a time, and you can then save it and re-log in and continue to work on that. Also, documents will be linked within the survey. So all this stuff that I received, you'll get a lot of those documents within the survey with your success data, demographic data, all that kind of stuff. If you have questions, you can certainly contact Laura or Elizabeth up in the Research Institutional Effectiveness Office. So really good to get this presentation and to just get a sense of what's happening. Again, the deadline that they stated is February 28th, 2020. So be on the lookout for those surveys. Some odds and ends. Just wanted to mention some things happening on campus, just some things that come up outside of the context of PAC or the board meetings. One is John Kingsbury walked in my office today and he had the copies of the new Senate rostrum. Really cool to see this. A lot of different issues here. The title story is Votes of No Confidence, an Academic Senate Perspective. There are also some other additional articles I thought were pretty interesting. Minimum qualifications toolkit for CTE. Also, measuring the second minimum qualification, considering exceeding mirror compliance, and that's kind of interesting. We've had some interesting discussions on campus about MQs and equivalencies through our equivalency committee. An argument for expanding the BA degree programs in the California community colleges may be relevant to us as we think about our university center. Guided pathways in governance, avoiding the fate of Sisyphus, pushing the rock up the hill. The role of counseling faculty and guided pathways redesign. I'm going to be looking at these as I'll talk about in a second. I have some guided pathways stuff coming up. Guided pathways in student engagement, equity, and subtle support for the undocumented students in the classroom. So a lot of good articles this time around. If you're interested, just head to the mailroom and you'll see a big box there that look like this, and you can pick up a copy and read it to your heart's content. So really cool to see this today, and I hope you get a chance to read it as well. I want to celebrate the Kokanee 2019. Really big congratulations to our wonderful part-time faculty member and Academic Senate part-time representative, Mary Cook, who teaches in English as well. And of course, Julie Ewing, our current English full-time faculty member and department chair. If you get a chance, grab a copy of the Kokanee. I believe they'll be on sale at the bookstore. A lot of cool pieces in here. Former students are publishing, community members. There's some art in here as well. So I hope you get a chance to really thank and congratulate all the authors in here, Julie and Mary, for a wonderful job. It's beautifully produced, and if you get a chance, please do pick up a copy at the LTCC bookstore. Also want to announce, actually in 10 minutes, I got to run out of here. We're doing our first dress rehearsal for Rowing to America, the Immigrant Project. All of the folks in our meta major, GD, myself, Melanie's been involved, as well as Beth Marinelli and others down the road. We're excited to be presenting this. It's a student performed play, readers theater. I'm not going to give too much away about this because it's going to be, I think, really cool. So if you get a chance, spread the word about the auditions that are happening today and throughout the week and next week. And then, of course, once we get into the phases of rehearsal and performance, I hope you get a chance to see it. It's going to be really exciting. That being said, if you have other major meta-major events that are happening, let me know. I'm doing a presentation coming up with Brad and Allie down in Sacramento about guided pathways. So I want to try to feature as much media as possible in that presentation. I also want to celebrate Brian Yering, our very talented 3D art instructor, who is recently just opened a show at College of the Sequoias, a solo show. And it looked like a really good turnout. And a lot of this stuff, by the way, I just see on social media via Facebook or some other post or something like this. So I wanted to mention that if you have other announcements of things you're doing as a faculty member, it doesn't have to be a big art opening, it could be a publication, whatever it is that you're working on, send them my way. I'll include it in the President's Report, and that way we can get the word out on campus. Because I have to say, we have so many talented faculty on campus that we want to celebrate their work, whatever they're doing, and it could be a hobby, it could be a professional project or whatever. So congratulations to Brian. If you're down near College of the Sequoias, maybe get a chance to check out that art opening, and we're all just really excited for him and his family for this opportunity to showcase his work in a professional setting. Really exciting for Brian and the rest of us. As I said, other announcements, let me know. I wanted to say, hiring committee, thank you for so many of you who got back to me early. We've had a round of new hires coming up, faculty hire for sociology, different positions for classified positions, one administrative position coming up. So such a response, and some of those I had like 4 or 5 people that wanted to be on the same committee. The process that I do is once I get all those names, I attach those to the list, and then I send it to Human Resources, and then they, along with the President's Office, we engage in a conversation about who will actually serve on those committees. So if you weren't chosen this time around, keep trying, and we would love to have you for a future hiring committee. So thanks again for all that enthusiasm. Wanted to mention just a few teaching and learning things. One thing is my office, as you can see over time, is changing. I hope to have a grand opening, but I have some new furniture, artwork, a little signboard over there that I'm pretty proud of. And I'm going to be building things out so that we can use the space in here as a small conference meeting area to do some workshopping and onboarding stuff in here. So more to come in that regard in the future, so be on the lookout. And then I want to take you to real quick, the Teaching and Learning website. And again, if you're curious about finding out about upcoming workshops, please click on the workshops link. 2 announcements coming up. One is I will have a talk on February 4th, Teaching in the Age of Mobile and Social Media. The February 11th talk is on DE, face-to-face, and ISP teaching, parallels and differences. The teaching talk number 12, I'm rescheduling due to a guided pathways presentation I'm doing in Sacramento. And the topic of that is integrating the classroom with student services. So check that out. That'll be DE only. I'll send you information about that. And then I'm moving Teaching Talk 13 because of a conference to March 3rd, and that'll be Guided Pathways and its Impact on the Classroom. So the Teaching Talk 12 and 13 will focus a lot on integrating guided pathways in terms of student services and instruction and building out student experiences. So hopefully you get a chance to be part of those. If you ever miss one, please go to the same page and click on Archive, and you can click on the videos and also the handout. I often will have the handout ahead of time, so for Teaching Talk 10, I have the handout for you, which is on the topic of teaching in the age of mobile and social media. So please feel free to explore the website, check out the workshops. More will be coming in terms of video and content and information for all of you out there, whether you're teaching for us for the first time or you've been teaching for us like me for over 20 years. As usual, if you have questions, anything that comes up in these reports that you want more information about, reach out to me. I'd be very happy to answer those questions. And as always, my office is always open, so B101A, stop in, talk about Academic Senate, talk about teaching and learning, or anything else that's on your mind. I look forward to having some good conversations about things that are happening with the Senate or some of these other academic and professional matters. So good luck in your teaching, in your counseling, in your library work, and I'll be back with additional videos in the future focusing on our academic and professional matters here through the Academic Senate.